now. Before you heard the sound, now.
One thing that I've noticed is that a spiritual seeker is actually the ego, no? But pretending to play the game of trying to cut the ego or whack-a-mole with the ego. You know this game, whack-a-mole? So because it has picked up the spiritual knowledge, it feels like it has understood something and now it can stop the ego from arising. But it is who? It is the ego itself. You see? So the spiritual seeker then can become a very compulsive sort of position which the spiritual aspirant can take and then get attached to that. And without realizing, the spiritual knowledge can only amplify, can build on this identity of being somebody then who can take care of this life based on its spiritual understanding. So what happens is that this game shows up every morning. Within this game, one character shows up which seems like it is central. So it's like you're looking at everything from the perspective of this character. But nothing in the game by itself, in the perception of it, is telling you that you are this. Now, this one is something that we learn from parents and conditioning and society and karma, whatever. Right? So this idea that, okay, I am this one has got embedded. Now, everything else that we've tried before this has made us suffer in one way or the other. And we feel like the only way for this one to be free from suffering is to come to spirituality. Then it apparently learns some things. It says, okay, be free, live in the present moment, let it all go, just be, whatever the pointing may be. Then we feel like we still have this perspective. We say, now I'm applying, just be. I'm just going to let it be. Or just let it go. Or just be open and empty. Whatever the pointing may be, we can still have the subtle position, which actually may be subtly picked up, but actually in what gets picked up is not subtle. You see, it's the whole state of human conditioning. You see, but gets a naturally seeming get picked up. You see, so most spiritual seekers then get lost in this game of trying to pick up more and more tools by which they can chop the ego, not realizing that they themselves, the pretense that they've taken on is the ego itself. You see? And for those who are coming to direct satsang like this, I feel like this is the number one problem left if there can be such a thing. You see? I feel like because the pointing is so potent and it's so direct, you feel like, I can use this. If this happens to my life, what do I have to be? Just notionless. Yeah, just notionless. But the notion that I am this one is still getting amplified in that. What do I have to do? Just be notionless. You see, is for whom? You see, so that is not notionlessness. It becomes a tool in your spiritual armory to help the non-existent one. Because remember, when the game showed up, the whole game showed up. Nothing in the game said you are just this. You see, that is called conditioning. To take ourselves just to be this was the conditioning that we picked up. You see, now everything, like Guruji says, when you have a flu, then everything is seen in the flu state. So now everything is seen from that primary or primal seeming condition. And you can feel like, okay, this is what's happening in my life. This one is like that. Just forgive her. Yeah? This one is saying like this. Just embrace them. Yeah? But the thing is, primarily we are again amplifying this identity, which we are still continuing to take ourselves to be. You see? So this is the example that Bhagwan was talking about when he said, the thief dressed up as the policeman trying to catch the thief. The ego itself trying to kill the ego. Like, I just have to not be egoistic. Yeah? Who's that? Like, it's not God saying I just have to be, not have to be egoistic. So So all the pointing in satsang are meant to have a dissolutive effect on this one. Okay? But they can have a actually constructive effect on this one. You see? So that is something that you have to watch. That's why I wanted to start with this. See, I wanted to start with this, especially since we're starting after a break, that as you're coming in now, notice that you're not going to apply it to this limited entity sort of perspective. You see? Now, what that leaves then to apply it to is a good contemplation to explore together. You see? So this is it. And this is where a lot of the spiritual aspirants will just get stuck because they feel like they spend 20 years on it, 30 years on it, maybe the whole life on it. And sometimes they feel like, okay, I can manage my life now because I have my spirituality. And on other times they'll feel like, what have I actually learned? What is my actual impact? So to get away from all of this, which is still part of the guy who's playing spiritual whack-a-mole, trying to whack the ego every time it shows up, you see, that itself is the ego. And you can't really go. In a way, that's what satsang is. To blow up that one, to deconstruct that one. But it's not something substantive that can be blown up in the first place. It's just a set of ideas, or just like a position. So it's like the words of satsang are trying to meet you like that, and you catch it like that. It's trying to dodge you. Yeah? The words of satsang are trying to dodge the spiritual aspirant, but something like, I'm good at this stuff. Yeah? Okay. So the master, in a way, not figuring out, but just intuitively has to be guided in the sense of how we can dodge your spiritual conditioning. You see? Because those who are attracted to a particular type of conditioning will put everything that is being said in that box. Oh yeah, that's what he's saying. That, and for somebody the opposite spiritual conditioning can take that also in that same box. That's why we have a shelf full here of maybe 100 different commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita itself. And if you take two very different traditions, they could have used the same words of the Lord and made it in their completely attuned to their tradition. You see? So whatever the conditioning of that spiritual aspirant or seeker is for you, you will take these words to mean something for that one. You see? And then that will be the constructive job. So you'll know and know. You'll know more and more and more. You see? Whereas I'm trying to tell you that one is fake. It doesn't know anything. Just leave it. You see, it's not going to get you anywhere. You see? And then on hearing stuff like this, then some resistance can come because then you feel like, but I'm so confused now. What is he even saying? Whereas what I've said is very direct, but the mind can say, it's too abstract. It's too confusing. So whose resistance is that? Like, what is the trouble? So I went on this holiday, which I needed a holiday from after I came back. So, on this holiday, I met a very sweet man who I presented my book to. They don't come to satsang; they're a different part of our life. So I'd given in this book, and he said, Ananta, I'm very good with hard books. But this book that you've given to me of your satsang transcripts, Giving Consciousness, Speaking of Consciousness, is the hardest book that I've ever read. And I just can't do it. And very, very sweetly and humbly he was saying all of that. So I was explaining to him that the attempt, if you're going to attempt, because he said, I read a few things, then you ask some question and all that understanding is lost. Then I read something else, then you ask something else, and I'm wondering what I'm understanding, what am I getting in all of this? You see? And I completely resonated with his frustration because I have had that experience reading like Maharaj, especially with I Am That. So I just told him that if the attempt was not constructive, then what would you feel about it? You see? So if the attempt was not to construct, but actually to look at something that may be there and just would dissolve it, if at all possible, then what would your perspective be? And he was like, okay, let me see it in that light or something. I don't remember exactly what he said. So the frustration or confusion in satsang is also about the same. It's about the same thing, where we can be frustrated only when we're trying to grasp something. If you're not grasping, how will you get frustrated? Okay? If you're grasping, trying to grasp on the space, and you've been doing it for 3 hours, and you look at your hand, I have not got anything at all. Obviously, this mind will throw this idea that this is pointless, it's frustrating, whatever, what am I even doing here? Yeah? But if the attempt was not that, and the attempt was just to sit with as much attention as we feel like we have with us, and allow the words to work by themselves. That is the attempt when you come to satsang. And if this can become your way in life, but especially starting in satsang itself, then I tell you, nothing can make you really suffer. If this can become your way, starting with satsang, but in life, where you're not really grasping at straws, then nothing can frustrate you or make you suffer. So our grasping is based on a template that we have, based on what we think we should be or life should be. Okay? Otherwise, what would you go for? So your coming to satsang could be also based on a template, saying I have to become more spiritual, or I have to become free, or I have to understand, or whatever the template may be. But without that, are you not free? Sometimes the seeking is the only thing which is left in the identity. That's why maybe Babaji said, drop the search. But that also can be taken by the same guy, no? Whack-a-mole guy. I have to drop the search and then I'll actually be free. But you are that guy. So this is the trick, isn't it? Are you all with me? So this is the trick. This is the like the small speck of dust, but actually can cloud the whole vision. Just quickly, we can let that individual perspective be taken as valid, and that can seem like it is actually determining what our reality is. So if you have questions like, how is my spirituality helping me? That is a very good diagnostic tool. You see, how much progress have I made? That is a very good diagnostic tool. You see, the determination that I am almost there. You see, who is all of this for? Who is all of this for? All of these conceptual conclusions that we may take to be reality. Who are they? Who are they for? Who do they belong to? So if you can contemplate this in spite of your mind resistance, and I know that with these kind of things, the mind can really resist, because this is attacking the root of its whole game. So the mind is happier if it's allowed to get belief in the persona of being a spiritual seeker. But if that starts getting attacked, then I'm missing 2 hours of work, or I've braved such cold weather and come here. What did I get? What did I actually get? So, not trying to grasp, and yet being attentive. Can we try that as an experiment? Otherwise, many times we feel like attention itself is grasping at things, but it's really not. And I want you to experiment with that and see whether it is attention which is grasping at things. It is not attention. Attention is pure perception. Attention you have no trouble with. See? But then trying to make the fairy tale in your head, that is what is grasping. That is what is grasping. Trying to find a template with which to put this unfathomable thing, quote unquote thing, is the attempt at grasping. Okay? So we feel like we're only making progress if, yes, I understood this today. I'm not to grasp. Okay? But who's holding on to that instruction? Whack-a-mole guy? Who? So, not to grasp, not to construct, not to take yourself, seriously. Be little chill. Have you seen the real, not real, but real spiritual seeker? Some of them. Yeah, right. Isn't it like that? And you see the sages? Are you getting what I'm saying? So if you find yourself, this is not to poke fun at anybody. I'm just saying that if you find yourself getting, hey, no, just chill out a bit, just like relax. Because what are we really talking about? We're talking about that which is the natural state of all being. You see, we can't even say beings, just say being. It's the natural state. Children are like sages. It's just that they haven't gone through the full roller coaster yet. So we don't treat them like sages. Right? So, but what's the big deal? So, don't get into these kind of places which are very serious and accomplished and a lot of knowledge and these kind of things, because they just take you away from your originality, from your innocence. And the world's way is to devalue this innocence and say, without the mind, you are nothing. Is it? And it is right, but you are the most pristine nothing, where all knowledge emerges from. So what is knowledge? A collection of, like conceptual knowledge is a collection of thoughts, isn't it? And where do thoughts emerge from? If that source stops applying these constructs, then none of this would be there. But you would still be there, isn't it? If your thoughts stop now, what would be taken away from you? Of course, thoughts will be coming and saying, I wish it would stop. Why doesn't it stop? When will it stop? It's all still thoughts. But would the witnessing go away? So I realize I'm startling many things in this conversation or rant or whatever you call it. But just so that you can't really understand what I'm saying.